Now at about age 2, children enter the second stage, pre-operational. This is when language rapidly increases, imaginary play starts to be more extensive, and even though they do not think as complex as adults, they do have an intuitive thought process. The next stage is the concrete operational stage. This stage does not begin until about age 6 or 7. At this stage, the child learns that another person's perception is distinctly different than theirs. They also learn reasoning, however, it is about concrete, real-life situations. Now, the final stage is called formal operation. This stage presents itself at about age 11 or 12. At this stage, students have logical reasoning about abstract, hypothetical ideas. They have a conceptual understanding of proportions, fractions, and so on. They can formulate multiple hypotheses. These are essential skills for advanced reasoning in mathematics and science.
Thank you, Dr. Piaget. That is an excellent segue towards the high school science class video you had watched before the show. I had asked you to see if you could find examples of your theory and how you would redesign the lesson as well as assess the class.
Mrs. McCullen's students are in the formal operation stage. In the beginning of the video, about 4 minutes and 36 seconds, a female student poses a question to Mrs. McCullen. She asks that if they were to color the bottle 2 different colors, one side white, the other side green, but she doesn't know if that would be in effect a habitat, or how do they react to different colors. Mrs. McCullen tells the student that she has a really interesting question, but instead of answering, Mrs. McCullen tells the student to think about her question. You can see that the student was experiencing mental discomfort. Another example of where my theory is evident is at the part of 39 minutes and 38 seconds. These 2 students are testing to see if crickets chirp more at night or in the day. The student's experiment appears to be inconclusive. Here they start to exhibit logical reasoning to explain why they may have gotten inconclusive results. Is it because the crickets are in the classroom instead of outside? Can they manipulate their experiment to gain results by adding more crickets? They are engaging in the scientific method, and you can see how this interaction with the crickets is helping the students gain knowledge. As you know, my cognitive development theory is about students discovering knowledge about their world through experimentation. So I decided to still have the students do an experiment. However, instead of groups of 2, I would split them in groups of 4. In that group of 4, they would have to decide on one purpose, but predict 2 different hypotheses. The group of 4 would split into pairs, Group A and Group B. Group A would test one hypothesis, while Group B tested the other. Once each group has gathered their results, they will switch their experiment with the other group. Group A will use a rubric that I would have provided to grade Group B on their ability to execute each step of the scientific process. Group A would then provide 1 or 2 alternative variables that Group B did not account for. Group B will do the same for Group A.
By having the students critique their peers' experiment, you are creating an opportunity for interaction involving contradictory viewpoints that would create disequilibrium.
Yes, that is so the students start to reevaluate their experiment. Socio-cognitive conflict is very important to stimulate debates and challenges. After the students critique each pair, they will join together as a group and present their collective purpose to hypothesis, results, and critiques. Then, in their collective conclusion, they will suggest their alternative variables for future experimenters.
And how would you assess your students, Doctor?
I would have 2 rubrics, one for the peer-to-peer evaluation regarding proper implementation of each step of the scientific method. The other one would be for me to evaluate the students' critique and participation in the group presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Piaget, for a deeper look into your cognitive development theory. Even though critics say that Piaget's description of the processes that propelled development can be frustratingly vague, one thing they can't criticize is the foundation that Piaget laid with the nature of the questions that he asked and tried to answer about how children think and reason. Thank you for joining the Dr. Orr Show today. Next week, we will interview a Russian developmentalist, Liv Vygotsky.
Created using Powtoon.